I did want to start by reading a post from Lemmy, the one guy who's known Mickey longer than me. And he's in the hospital in Germany. He had open heart surgery, and then he wanted to go back on tour. He played last night in Berlin, got 6 songs out, and collapsed and was taken back to the hospital.
30 minutes.
He says, I'm in Germany, sorry to miss it. Would you read something out for me? Quote, Mickey and I shared many a late night, and I'm proud to have known it. We wrote songs together, hung out, discussed the deep meaning of life, particularly the MC5.
Yeah.
Godspeed, Mickey.
Godspeed, Mickey!
So it's no coincidence that I met Mickey via his writing. In 1969, I was reading a copy of the International Times, and there was a story about a guy in a band and how the police had pulled them over and took their gear out and shook them down. And I thought, damn, that's the same shit I go through with my band. Then that same guy founded the British chapter of the White Panther Party. And then in 1970, he wrote to me and he said he wanted to do this festival in England. He wanted me and my band to come over there and play. So I first met Mick Farren after the gig when I went to get paid. and he says, well, didn't anyone tell you? It's a free festival. I said, that's all right for you. You live here. I'm 3,000 miles away from home. He said he was on acid at the time. And that began my 43-year friendship. All my adult life has been shared with Mick Farren. And we had some adventures and misadventures. And he was as solid a brother and friend as you could ever want. And I loved him dearly, and you know, people love each other in strange ways. Sometimes you love somebody and they love you back in a different kind of way. Or maybe you like them, but you don't love them, or maybe you love them, but you don't like them. We did a lot of good work together over the years. We both lived in New York in the 80s, Disneyland for adults.
Yeah.
We both ended up out here in the 90s, and did some more work together. And, you know, we kind of drifted apart about 15 years ago. He said that he liked me better when I was drunk.
Yeah.
We went to a party at the Chateau Marmont, and there were some players at the party. There were accomplished people there. And I watched as he drank a water glass full of scotch and announced to the world that he was sick and tired of being ahead of the curve. I said, come on now.
He was right.
I said, I'm going to drive you home. He said, you know what, Wayne? I liked you better when you were drinking, you know. We used to be able to get drunk and talk about our girlfriends together. I said, Mickey, I'm absolutely ready to talk about our girlfriends right now. I said, you know what your problem is? You never learn moderation. And he was right, I never did. I am an extremist, I go too far with everything. So now he's gone. We're all going, 100 years, new people, all new people. And I'm happy that, you know, we're all together to talk about him and share our lives. and that he was the glue that pulled us all together. I think he left the place nicer than he found it.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
I think that's the best thing. His closest friends for the last couple of decades were Andy Colquhoun and his wife Helga. And Mike Simmons is going to read a note that they had written. And thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
I'll put the screen down for you when you need to.
All right, this is from all friends of Mickey know Andy, his guitar player, and Helga, Andy's wife, who were, they were like a threesome. I mean, I don't mean that sexually. Although, who knows?
I know.
And who cares? Okay, this is from Andy and Helga. Mick was mine and Helga's lifelong friend and musical partner for over 35 years. To say we are devastated doesn't even come close. He was one of the hardest working people I've ever known, which is evident in the body of work he leaves behind. He was the ultimate performer and happiest in front of a microphone on stage, and it didn't matter whether it was a little poetry gig in Hollywood or on the 71 stage at Glastonbury in 2011. I'm glad we moved back to Brighton a year or so after he did, because despite his failing health, we carried on writing new material and played a number of gigs as the Deviants, as well as several spoken word gigs in and around Brighton. You may have read in various obits that he went against doctor's advice and performed. Most notably, Wayne, the quotes in the New York Times were brilliant. I gotta say. I mean, treating emphysema with cigarettes and alcohol is
Yes. Kill
in the New York fucking Times.
it. Tell it, brother. Tell it.
Yeah, thank you. This is absolute rubbish. He was the driving force behind doing the gigs, and last Christmas he said that playing with the band is the only thing that keeps him going. Mick's immense talent as a writer, poet, and visionary was only exceeded by his kindness, loyalty, and big heart. He would forgive people who wronged him and just couldn't hold a grudge. You could ask Mick about anything, and he would offer an original opinion or a viewpoint that made you consider the subject in a totally different way. His imagination was vast, I can attest to that, well-informed and multidimensional. His work will live on and remind us of his great talent for poetry and provocative reflection on all aspects of our position in the cosmos. Rest in peace, bro. You earned it. Andy and Helga Colquhoun, August 2013.
Yeah.
Right on, motherfucker. Right on. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to say just three things. When Margaret called me last Sunday morning at the really rude hour of 11 a.m. What the fuck are you doing calling me at 11 a.m.? I got sleep to... And she said, oh, well, Mick died. I thought maybe you'd want to know. Nah. And so, of course, as all of us, well, a million things flooded my head. And so, one of the first things is, the three food groups of Farren, which was, if you knew Mick, it was, the stash box, cigarettes, and asthma in there. Cigarettes, stash box, asthma. So it was like, and so within that entailed all kinds of contradictions and war. That doesn't make sense. Sense. Fuck you. So the second thing is as a friend he would. For instance, I'll tell you a story. He in the mid-90s. He says to me, "Oh, some fucking hat motherfuckers in London want me to write a book about the CIA, and I'll give you $1,000." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, I'll write it, and you'll be the researcher." And I said, "Okay." So we did a book about the CIA, and I noticed at your house that you have 2 copies, one for me, one for me. Both autographed. It was some crap book. So my job for $1,000, he got $5,000. I got $1,000 for my job. I was supposed to go to a Muck Books. Is everybody?
Woohoo!
Yes.
And I had to go to Muck Books and buy every and buy every CIA book. And so I gave it to him, and so he translated everything into Faranese.
Faranese.
Literally stole it, And so that was all I did. And so, the rest of my job for $1,000 was basically to sit with him at lunch. What was that coffee shop in West Hollywood?
Silver Spoon.
Thank you. Natalie Nichols. Silver Spoon. We used to eat lunch at once a week. And because I had an open bar.
My bartender was my coke dealer.
And Taquila Mockingbird. And anyway, so but he took it was what it was is I was broke in the mid-90s, man. I was fucking broke. I couldn't, and he was broke. We were both broke. But he was cognizant of the fact that we were both broke. And he says, these motherfuckers are offering us, some zeros. And I'll throw you $1,000, man. What you got to do? Go to a bookstore and hang out and have lunch with me. I said, I can do that. Dick. Right? But the thing is that is the kind of friendship that is indigenous to people of a certain generation. Now, all you motherfucking punk rockers, yeah, but we were hippies, man, and there was a thing, there was a community. It was we are looking out.
Kill the hippies! Yeah! Kill the hippies! Never trust a hippie. You get your $1,000. You get your $1,000.
Anyway, he took care of me. And we even threw $500 to Charlie Rapley. Is it Rapley here? Anyway, to write the introduction.
And then
so
what
we
happened?
came up with this. What?
Then what happened?
And then what happened? None of your goddamn business. But the thing is that the heaviest thing about Mickey is that after Columbine happened, he and I were sitting that night after Columbine. The news hit the blah blah, and we're sitting at the Formosa Cafe, we're having a drink, and he says to me, he's fucking looking into his drink, and he saw, and he says, I understand those kids. I said, which kids? I said, the kids who did the shooting. I said, what? He said, I understand those kids. He said, I understand those kids. He said, I went through high school, what they called high school in England, whatever it's called. And he said, what? Right, whatever. And he said, I got pushed around. And he said, I had fantasies of going in there with a machine gun and mowing those motherfuckers down. And he said, I understand. He says, I don't condone it. I'm not saying it's cool. I think it's horrible. He said, but I understand it. And then he looked at me and he said, and also, trench coat mafia is pretty cool. But the point is ultimately, I think that it's a thin line between being a criminal and a great artist. And I think in that moment, Mick was grabbing that thin line, that contradiction. And Mick not only was a great artist, but a great friend and a great human being and a one of a kind. There will only ever be one Mick fucking Farren ever. And that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Sabrina.
Well, I met Mick. I was pretty much the second day I went to work at like Bump and Alive Records, and I had come in. They were doing the Deviants record, and soon after that, we all went down to San Diego and performed a show under the backdrop of the Republican convention. And I always remember Mick that no matter how much sort of biting commentary or things that he raged against, he had biting commentary. He's never bitter, and you'd read stuff that he'd read, and you'd think. The thing is, he was so much nicer than a person that would normally write those sorts of things would necessarily be, like and he loved his cats, and Susie Shaw was talking about all these stories he wrote about cats, which he was hoping that someone would eventually publish, which I thought was great. There was so much to know about Mick, and he was incredibly kind and generous, and said he never really held a grudge. And I remember the prime example I had was here was I got assigned to do this story on Twink, who was a man, if anyone knew him, who made a lot doing really nothing, actually. Like, playing a few bits on a Pretty Things record, which they unfortunately gave him some rights to something because they couldn't pay him some money at the time, and he made a career out of that. And here I was, he was supposed to do this production of Pretty Things P.F. Sorrow, which I knew wasn't going to happen. I even told the editor, like, why are we doing this story? But she wanted me to write the story anyways. And I thought, well, I'm just going to get, BS from Twink all along the line. I need a fact checker. And there it was, I should have been writing a story about Mick. But then, I called Mick, and he's like, he went through all the history with me and said, no, that's not really it, and here's how you can get a hold of this person, and da-da-da-da-da. And he would always help me, and that's the way Mick was. And I was having a sausage roll here. It's like lots of my best memories of Mick. I don't quite remember because how many times I would know how long we've been here by how many sausage rolls he had. Oh God, we've been really drinking. He's had 4 orders of sausage rolls. Oh well, look at the time. I remember, a few years before I, forcibly kind of cleaned up my act a bit because I had children, he was like, being out one night, he was kind of like concerned about me. I thought, oh God, I better hold it together. Like Mick's concerned about me, And, he was kind of, sad to lose me to motherhood in some ways as being a co-conspirator. But then he said, well, if anyone's got to have, I'm not really fond of people having, children, but out into the planet. But if anyone's going to have them, it might as well be you. You'll probably have some cool kids, And that was kind of a great compliment, from Mick, and I was always amazed at how prolific he was, he would just really work so hard.
Yeah.
You think about, that stash box and that everything else, and most people that would have gotten that old, let's face it, most of those people that we know that live on the outside, they either drift towards the mainstream or they get kind of crazy or mean or bitter, and none of that happened now, and let them inspire us all,
Okay, so I have a punk rock museum, and it's dedicated to people like us.
Yeah.
It's all about us. It's only 1974 to 1984. Right there at that table, Sabrina, myself, and Mick had lunch for the last time.
You had sex?
Lunch. We had lunch. We had lunch.
I just heard.
So there we are sitting there, and Sabrina's like, I have news for you. And we're all like, really? News? Sabrina news? The Sabrina news, right? And Sabrina says, I am pregnant. And I am having a child. And Nick is there and he's like, this is not going to work out. This is going badly. And he went, I can't believe she's doing this. Why would she do something like this? At a time like this.
That was the second to last one. Honey, that was the second to last.
And then he went, I can't do this. I'm moving to London. I will not be Uncle Mick babysitting for Sabrina. The people who built this place that we're in right now is the Casablanca movies room, where they made the movie Casablanca. This is the location, the physical location. Kim Gardner, who built, well, he didn't build this. This was called Moulins before, but when he bought this, he kept in mind that this was where they filmed Casablanca. His family sends their regards to all of us. He died 5 years ago. He was a friend of Mick's. So I just want to say the family continues. We're all the family. Let's stay together. And that's all I have to say.
Natalie? Where's Natalie?
I'm right here. Alright, you guys, I already said pretty much everything I had to say in my blog post, but this is Eric Himmelsbach. He hired Mick to be a columnist at the LA Reader a fucking long time ago. And basically this is how it happened. Eric said, meet Mick. And I said, okay. And that was the start of a great adventure. So thank you.
Yay! That's my question. Is anybody going to read any of his work here today? His personal words.
Well, but I just have a few pull quotes on the memorial, but we have a bit that Michael prepared before we could pull up.
Boy, Johnny.
Here, Michael, I'll get it for you.
I'm just going to read a couple because I really don't. I really think that Mick would hated organization. A true anarchist, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And anyway, so anyway, but I'm gonna read a couple things and then fuck it. I ain't doing this. But I'm reading two recent things because I think it needs to be reminded. We need to be reminded that Mickey, wasn't one of these cocksuckers who fucking,
Bought in.
Who grew up, got old, and sold out to, whatever. Anyway, this is from Elvis died for somebody says, but the introduction, Ghost Dancer, which is the explanation for his entire career. Anyway, the armed asshole enters the Western movie barroom in his black hat and sinister gloves, drinking bad whiskey and lacking a better idea of fun. He fires bullets into the rough wood floor close to the feet of an unarmed, innocent bystander. His instruction is simple: dance. Faced with the choice of dancing or being shot in the foot, the innocent bystander dances. But if he is not quite as innocent as the bully assumes, he will use all of his cunning to choreograph a performance that will confuse and ultimately confound the asshole in the black hat. Either that or the innocent bystander will continue dancing until Black Hat runs out of ammunition. The other part of the trick is to learn
To
to
dance.
enjoy the dance. Because the assholes have endless supplies of ammunition. Written last year. Not early Mick. Yes, my friends, the ghost dance continues and will go on as long as the dancers know the end may be looming. Not only must the proliferation of nuclear weapons be halted and reversed, but global corporations and whatever China has become urgently need to wean themselves off policies of damage and destruction in the name of profits, while we still have a habitable planet. Until that golden day dawns, we can only keep dancing. Mick Farren, okay?
Everybody sign the book, please. Please sign the book.
Also sign the poster next to it so that he has, like, we're gonna send that to Helga
Oh,
in
well,
London.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
So please.
That's nice. That's
My
nice.
blog is Kilmister.
Okay, can I?
If there's anyone else that has any remarks they would like to share,
Everybody's welcome. Everyone's welcome.
I know it's ironic because I'm not really a Spinster. I'm definitely not. Anarchy's happening.
There you go.
go ahead, yeah.
Go ahead.
But wait till it's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, now it's good.
It's still not quite okay.
It's okay.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, phone calls.
Shut up!
I'm just relaying a message here from a guy in South End, England, named Barry Masters. He's the lead singer for Eddie and the Hot Rods. And Barry wanted this said today at this event. He said, "We came up through the same 70s generation. I'm so sorry to hear this news. I'm grateful that you guys can hear what I have to say. Another golden talent has truly moved on. Godspeed."
Anybody else? Anybody have? Doug Lunn, come on. You played with them. You are a deviant.
You are a deviant.
I'm still deviant.
You're definitely a deviant.
You know, I have, actually, I have Mick to thank for knowing a lot of people in this room, including Wayne and everyone.
Me?
You know, I mean, we actually met the first time we played together. It was on the recording session of the Death Ray tapes. We were live. We had known each other before, but the first time we actually made music together, and then that turned into something. That was a great adventure, and Michael, and all of them. You know, Mick was a great adventure. I think one of the funniest things I went through with him was after that. I remember we went to Japan together. In '99. We recorded the Barbarian Princes CD with Parnell and Andy, and it was so funny because traveling with Mick was definitely an adventure. I mean, the funniest thing also, I mean, I think you've all seen the movie, what was it, Lost in Translation? And there's a scene on the film where the director's, you know, going on and on, you know, Bill Murray's on the scene, and, you know, the director goes on for 2 or 3 minutes, and the translator goes, he says, look into camera, you know. Well, actually, Mick would hold court over there. We would have these things, and of course, we were brought over there as a band, but they had adoring fans of his writing, and all these people who would do these sort of like the book signing things and the talks. And there's a way that you kind of talk with the translator. You know, in general, you try to do it bite-sized so that someone can someone can translate. So you're hypothetically going to communicate with people across the language barrier. But of course, Nick would ask him some question about the book and he'd go, oh, well, fucking hell, we went to, he'd go on for all of a sudden 5 minutes. This spiel, this just incredibly idiosyncratic, his language, the way he speaks, and things that are just inimitable, hard enough anyway. It's not just like translate English, it's translating Mick. And you go on, and talk for 5 minutes, and there'd be a room full of people, and the translator would go, don't you know I got this? And you just go, that's it, And you realize, I have no idea. The amazing thing is he had adoring fans over there, and I have no idea what their real impression of him was. But they were just like, he was just this absolute source of fascination. It was beautiful. And that was a great adventure. I miss him. The last recording we did was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. It was what, 2002?
With Dr. Crow.
Dr. Crow, yeah.
Which both of us are on.
Yeah. It was a good adventure. I miss him terribly. I miss, I slept better at night knowing Mick was in the room. It's great to be here. It's great to see everyone today. It's great to see all these people, Thanks.
Johnette?
All I can say is that I just gave Mike Simmons a cassette that amazingly I have had for how many years must that have been? 15 years. It's a cassette and it still plays. And it's Andy and I and Mick and Mike at my old house getting drunk as fuck. And discussing everything and nothing. And I was up at 3 in the morning listening to it, just pissing my pants, laughing like hell because it was just awesome. And it's just brilliant. And then we did Strawberry Fields Forever. And my best compliment of anything I've ever recorded, I think, was a Beatles fan that said, "Thank you very much. I never want to fucking hear that song again." So Mike is holding that, and it's just hysterical because, we all get hammered while talking, and Mick starts to fixate on my antique dresser that I need to glue. You need to glue that. The white strip of wood is showing. It's just fucking crazy, man. And we visited I sent Andy and Wayne, you had that, I think. We spent some time together visiting the new, the remodeled it's not the Integratron, it's the fucking, what is it? It's the fucking observatory. Right? Yeah, and so we went up there, and he couldn't walk very well, but we came down to the boulevard to try to get a drink, and it was the new modeled, it's all New York now, really, the whole boulevard. And he couldn't walk very far, but we couldn't really find a drink, amazingly. We couldn't fucking find a drink. And so it all turned, like I was telling Mike, very Jack Nicholson in some movie. I can't remember what that is, but Mick was like, "I'd like a screwdriver." And this 20-year-old actress person who was a waiter person, and, "What's a screwdriver?" And he said, "Well, it's vodka and an orange juice." And he's like, "Well, we don't have any orange juice." He's like, he's so patient and so nice. And
Bring the vodka then.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. It was just like, and he's being so patient, and he's just like being so fucking patient. Like, it was just, and that was it. I didn't want to talk because I'm having a hard time with this one, but Mick, but you dude, Mike, you're holding the cassette, and that's Andy going. Andy is fucking playing, going, "Well, Mick doesn't remember the words." "Well, write them down! I told him to write them down!" And it gets pretty great, so I hope you do digitize it and make that available for everyone. And it was a song of Mike's, and I can't believe I still had it. I went in the closet last night and...
Shocked.
I live in the desert. I live in the desert. And the desert swallows some things up and it preserves some things, and it's very interesting what it preserves. And I'm not going to get over this one very easily. That's all I have to say.
I always remember Mick Logic, be like, why didn't he drive? It wasn't that he couldn't drive drunk, it was because he couldn't drive stoned. No, I can't drunk, I can't drive stoned. That's why, I gotta drive. Yeah. And then,
But he had that amazing car. He had that car.
And then,
Cadillac or whatever.
It was a Cadillac. It was a Cadillac. It was a Cadillac.
In the garage, and he said, I've got this incredible Cadillac. Yeah, but you don't drive it, motherfucker.
Or like when he switched, the very last few years of his life, switched from whiskey to vodka, it was a very late, stage change. The hangovers are easier with the vodka. That was him kind of smidgenly, admitting that maybe he was getting a little health.
It was like, remember electronic cigarettes?
Yeah.
The electronic cigarette?
Oh God. That was funny. But pot, it was a bronchial dilator.
Pot is good for
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I was totally justified.
I told him, I said, keep smoking pot.
Can I say something else? I do want to say the first time that I met, was it Nigel Dixon? Did anybody know Nigel Dixon here?
My best friend.
Right on, right?
Yeah.
Nigel was my fucking brother. And when he was diagnosed with cancer, he had ripped them all, and he was diagnosed with cancer, and they said that he had 6 months to live in the United States, and he went back to England and he lived 5 more years. And that was pretty fucking heavy, And it's good to meet you. I miss Nigel terrifically. He got a big sweater with a C on it. Cancer! He was all proud of it. And he did. And that was pretty much how I met Mick the first time. And so when he was going back to England, I knew it was because the healthcare system was failing him here. And it was just the fucking worst. And I missed the going away party because we were in Australia. I missed it by hours, and it just killed me. And that was rough. And I couldn't do anything about it, And I was on a plane from Australia, and I missed it. And I knew that the healthcare system, he wouldn't have gone back for anything. He loved America. And so. That I wish would change. In Mick's name, I really wish the healthcare system would change.
Anybody?
Speak now or forever hold your fucking peace. Hey, you. We went out drinking one night.
With
and
him?
You, me, and Farren. And you said to me the next day, you said you had never seen 2 people drink as much.
I think I said that night because I can't remember that. Yeah. Well, maybe it was their advanced age. Never seen it. But take, practice.
You're professional.
We had rehearsed.
Yeah, rehearsed for 40 years. Yeah.
Let's see.
You're living clean now there, Billy. That's pretty precious. That's awesome. Don't be shy.
Drink?
Okay, can I say something? Can I say something?
Voice one for Mick Farren.
What are you nervous about? What?
Thank you, Mickey.
What? Just be cool.
Just be cool.
Everything's fine. What? No, I know. That's terrible.
This is the closest thing I ever had to a dad.
Keep it together. We'll hang tonight, okay?